Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm just getting my video and stuff set up so you can see everybody, so just bear with me. I'm
All
looking
right.
at the screen here, so just hang on.
No worries, no worries. You can take your time.
There we go. And let's see, like this. Sorry, we were using a laptop camera here, so we're not necessarily get everybody. Yeah, very good. Because Jason's putting himself very close to the camera, so I can't get him in there. Although I should move that back and I can get everybody. I don't get it. If you just give us a few more minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. You can take your time.
Let's get everybody in here.
You can take your time.
Hang on just 1 second. Assuming that it won't just stand by and wait. What would you? I got laptop with me too. Hey, Pradeep.
Yeah. Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, we can hear you. Hear you just fine.
Okay.
Okay. Well, what I'd like to do is first just go around the table and have everybody introduce themselves. I know you can see 3 of the 5 of us. I'm sorry. I mean, I think that move down this way, guys. Sorry, we have to get a little coat. No, I'm serious. Move down this way so you can see all of us. Here, we're going to the corner there. That little tiny screen there, not a wide angle lens. All right, that's a little bit better, I think. All right. Okay, so I'd like to go around the table and just introduce everybody, Pradeep, so you get an idea of who you're talking to. You've talked to Jeff and I. I'm Chris Tarpley. I'm the manager for IT operations here at Verity, and I work for Jeff.
Okay.
And then, hi, Justin Horford. I'm a systems engineer with Clarity, and I work for Chris.
All right, nice to meet
Jeff.
you.
We talked earlier. Here working for me. Jeff Ladigan, the DBA. I work for Chris. The DBA. You make it sound like there's powerful DBA title. There's more than one DBA out there, you know. Just letting you know. Don't get all, you know. Not more than one DBA here, though. Yeah, the DBA here. You're right. The DBA at Clarity. That's what you should have. That's fine. It's semantics. So please. And I'm Jason. I'm another engineer, and I work for Chris as well.
Okay.
All right. So, Pradeep, we've gotten over your resume. I know you've already talked to Jeff and I, but the goal here is to have the rest of the team talk to you and get to know you a little bit, and answer any sort of questions that they might have relative to your resume and technical ability. And I would like it if you could just to give everybody else sort of an introduction to who hasn't talked to you before. Just go ahead and introduce yourself and just give sort of a high-level overview of your experience so far, and introduce yourself to them.
Yeah, definitely. So basically, I have been working with ZocDoc as a DevOps engineer. My main roles and responsibilities in the project included working on the various kinds of AWS services, including but not limited to AWS EC2, VPC, RDS, Elastic Cache, Route 53 for DNS, SES, SNS, SQS. I also have worked on IAM roles, CloudFormation templates, Apart from that, I also have worked on various kinds of CloudFront distributions, S3 buckets. I have configured Amazon certificate manager certificates for the various kinds of load balancer APIs we were running. So we were primarily running various kinds of applications on the AWS cloud, like Java backend APIs. We were also having Spring Boot. We were having Node.js applications. So I was the one who was designing the build pipelines for these applications in the Jenkins tool. So I was using Jenkins for the CI and CD of the applications on the cloud. So I was using this for making sure that we have, uh, automated deployments all the way up to production. Although the production part was somewhat not really automated in that sense, but yeah. Apart from that, I would say I also have various kinds of scrum meeting experience, like attending the daily scrum and the sprint meetings, and also making sure that we have adequate knowledge spread across the team by conducting sessions. I have been managing various kinds of environments like UAT, QA, pre-production. I also have been managing like DR environments. I have been writing Ansible playbooks for remote orchestration. Since I'm an intern, I don't have experience in the design, but I internally understand how to design the various kinds of things on the cloud, like VPC design, public-private subnet, and apart from that, making sure that we have adequate capacity in place, capacity planning, monitoring setup, making sure we have adequate monitoring with Nagios, New Relic, App Dynamics. Jenkins pipeline, I've used Maven, and just to summarize in the end, I have also started using Docker and writing Docker files for doing CI and CD, as well as making sure applications are containerized. Apart from that, I also have experience in Linux troubleshooting and being on call and on-call rotation, and using ServiceNow and Jira for ticket management and issue tracking and bug fixes. So yeah, that's my experience in a nutshell.
All right, Pradeep, thank you very much. That's a great recap for everybody.
Mhm.
Does anybody have anything they'd like to jump into first that they'd like to ask Pradeep, or do they have any specific disciplines that you guys are experts in that you'd like to ask them about?
All right, don't everybody jump at once here.
Go ahead, Jason. Jump in there.
I don't have any specific. Somebody else can jump in first here. I mean, I'm sure you guys had to ask something.
Well, I mean, I'll ask the basic question today. From an operational standpoint, how much of what you'd consider your day-to-day to be like a break fix, responding to customers that need help getting things fixed, versus how much of your work is like project based, and what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so for me, it is ZocDoc is a company which has its own product. So we don't have like a end customer whose product we are servicing here. But primarily, I would say that I have been working on the product and the product backend, especially the infrastructure and the DevOps side of it. So I have got in my previous intern, I mean, before this, I was at Amazon. So I was being on call there, and I used to talk to the customer, and understand the issue, and then try to check the backend Amazon Web Services tools and the systems, and see if everything is going well. So I used to interact with the customer a lot on a daily basis, have you know uh, root cause analysis calls, and then also try to, I was in the business support group wherein we were supporting the Amazon Web Services customers who were having business support. Apart from that, I also have experience in internally talking to various team members like QA teams, dev teams, and trying to make sure that we have adequate capacity, and we have all the automated builds, and any issues have been addressed, because a lot of teams have their own concerns. So yeah, both addressing the internal team member concerns as well as concerns of the various kinds of other teams and end customers. Yeah, so I have good experience there.
Okay, cool.
Can you tell us about a specific project or a specific challenge that you're particularly proud of either completing or overcoming, or?
Yeah, definitely I can do that. So I think at ZocDoc, one of the challenges we had, and this was a big challenge, was to scale the Java application. So we were doing that in a very good way with the virtual machines, but the problem with the current virtual machines or the old virtual machines based scaling was that it was not as effective. So when I say it was not as effective, I mean that we had various kinds of clusters, and these clusters were spread across availability zones, and we had like auto scaling groups, and we had them spin up machines. But ZocDoc has a lot of traffic which comes on Mondays and Fridays because people book appointments and they do a lot of stuff. So it was not as adequate. So I started with working on the various kinds of container technologies and started Dockerizing as per my team leads. He assigned me a task saying you have to Dockerize the Java applications as well as the Node.js applications because they wanted to move them to containers basically. Now, my role was to write the Docker files and first of all get the basic Docker image built and running. Okay. Now, once I had the basic Docker built running, what I did is I started running it on a couple of EC2 instances on Swarm. So we had initially thought of going with Swarm. Now, there is an architect on the team. He's a solution architect, and he has proposed that we will use the Elastic Kubernetes service, which is recently launched. So, but we were testing also on Kubernetes. So, one of the challenges was to get this integrated into the existing CI/CD pipeline. So, we had a Jenkins pipeline, and this CI/CD platform would automatically, so this would be integrated into that. So instead of deploying to virtual machines, we are planning to deploy to Kubernetes clusters. So we have integrated that using Ansible. And yeah, so that is one of the challenge. Apart from this, coping up with the new environment here. So coming from Amazon and coming to a startup like ZocDoc, wherein we have it's a totally different environment. There I was in the support. Here I am in totally directly involved with the infrastructure, designing the CI/CD pipelines. Although mine is not the final decision, but obviously it's a big challenge to day to day learn the new technologies and try to make sure that you have adequate knowledge and delivering the tasks. Working on the AWS, fixing bugs like traffic issues. Sometimes one of the big issues we had recently was one of the load balancers totally failed. So we got a alert in the pager duty from our New Relic that one of the application API is down. So we went in, we found that one of the backend services, the one of the backend services was down, and it was totally all the machines which were there in that backend service were not responding at all. So we were kind of amazed and also shocked. So we went into the machines and tried to log in, but there was a snowball effect which was happening here. Now, in this snowball effect, the by the time we were going into the machine, it was actually kind of terminating, which meant that we didn't have the logs. So this was big challenge. So we had to, in the end, make the size of the auto scaling group static and get a few machines up and running from the same AMI and the launch configuration, and finally try to then go and see what is the exception. So unfortunately there was a scenario which was missed in the testing part, so that is the thing which we missed, and then it took us like a couple of hours to fix it because it was not a simple bug. But yeah, this was one of the other challenges which I would say I have faced.
Excellent, thanks.
As far as the Docker, I know you mentioned Docker files and building Docker containers and such. Did you actually automate that piece, or were you automating the Docker container, or say push, via Jenkins task? Or was that a manual task in itself?
So no, it was not manual. So basically the Docker build was also automated in the Jenkins pipeline. So after the artifact was built, what we used to do is we would run the Docker. So the Docker file for a specific microservice also used to reside on the same microservice, which means that let's say microservice A has been Dockerized, we would not keep the Docker file in a different location. We would keep it in the same location. Now, the benefit of such a, keeping it in the same location was that we didn't have to go to a different, location to build it. We could just simply, make sure that we are in the same um, folder. We just used to initiate a Docker build command, and it would automatically, make sure that we have like the image built in the local repository. Then we used to push that to the Docker registry we had, in the Elastic Container Registry. So yeah, so the build of the container was totally integrated with the Jenkins, I would say.
So if you built the container, then you from Jenkins you push the container up to the AWS registry.
Yeah, so we would push it to the AWS registry. Yes, definitely.
And then you were using the like ECS containers.
So
excuse me if I'm not using the right term, but
yeah, so I would say that we were using containers on the ECS. Like ECS, we had in a few of the microservices. We tested out with that. But I would say if right now we are not into ECS, we are having a Kubernetes cluster on top of which we have the various microservices which we are planning to deploy. So initially we had a few task definitions which we were running on the ECS platform, and these were running on the EC2 instances, obviously. But yeah, right now we are running a Kubernetes cluster using KOps on the AWS platform. So we are using S3 to maintain the state of the entire cluster, and we have 2 masters and 4 workers in this cluster.
okay, thank you. I don't know if Jeff or Chris already explained. We haven't had, I guess, that much experience in AWS. We kind of threw something together at one point just to get things up and running, and the Docker containerization was automated via a bash script, but that was about the extent of the automation, and then pushed up to the AWS registry, and then we used ECS instances to create clusters, and I don't know how many. We ran a couple hundred, I guess, Docker containers there with a RDS instance, and then a couple EC2, well, actually one Mongo instance, and that was kind of the extent of what we've done so far. And again, the majority of it was not really automated. There was a lot of manual intervention during that whole process. So that's kind of where we're at now with it.
Okay. No, that's not a problem. I mean, yeah, that sounds exciting actually. I mean, anything with containers is always exciting.
So maybe take a bit of a step back from that stuff, because one of the things we want to do is move more of our production architecture to AWS. It is a Rails app. You did have experience previously with doing that. Why don't you take us through what kind of planning was done, what the actions that were done? Did you have any lessons learned that you can share with us from that would be valuable to bring to this position?
Yeah, definitely. I have got some experience there. So basically, I have got experience in moving Ruby on Rails from traditional infrastructure to AWS. So in that, what I've done is I've taken the passenger server and changed it to Nginx based server. And now in that, what we did is we would first of all analyze the AWS instances, which would be perfect for this. So initially, we started with the T2.medium, but soon we hit the upper limit on the CPU credits. So initial step in this migration was to find out the right size of the instance on the cloud. Once we had the right size, we started by trying to find out the type of network we wanted. So we created a VPC with public and private subnets. We created a repository in the cloud which would hold the code, and we created various kinds of repositories. We also had there was a Ruby wrapper which we added to the Nginx, which would have the environment variables. We had a script which used to run in the cron, which would deploy the application on top of those instances to actually, whenever they are in the load balancer, when the machine comes up. So there is a golden image which we had created using Packer, and then on top of that image, we were running the chef agent in the cron, which would give us the installation of all the Ruby on Rails and the passenger, as well as the Nginx, all those things on the machine. So we don't have to worry about any of the installation at runtime. So let's say it scales to 100 machines tomorrow. We don't have to manually install any of the software. All of it is taken care of by the chef agent. We had a chef cookbook for that, and the database was Postgres, and we had it on a machine in house. We moved it to the RDS with the read replica. So it was db.m4.medium, and then we changed it to I think db.c4, but it was working really well, and the cache was Redis, so we moved it to RD Elastic Cache. We had a cluster over there, which would let us, make sure that there is failover. And DNS was migrated to Route 53, so we created all the CNAME entries and all the entries which were there. And apart from that, I would say we also created the so certificates. We incorporated the SSL into the API. So which means that the application performing the API server, which was written in Ruby on Rails, had a SSL now. So we had to do kind of some scripting in the load balancer to redirect the, not really in the load balancer, but at the Nginx level to redirect the port 80 to the port 443 of the Elastic load balancer. So that was one of the other things we did. And this was the whole strategy. And then we had CI/CD pipelines wherein we had some tests in RSpec, which used to check the Ruby code. And we used to just copy the code using Ansible because it's not a compiled language, right? It's a it's an interpreted language, so you don't need to do any compilation, right? So that is the benefit.
So my question to you, do you use OpsWorks as part of your migration using Chef?
No. It was running on EC2, but I have knowledge about OpsWorks and how you can define and connect the various kinds of stacks in OpsWorks. Yeah, I've got some experience. I can work on OpsWorks as well. I don't think that should be a problem.
So with the Chef recipes?
Yeah, so with the Chef recipes, so you can have various kinds of life cycles inside Chef, which you can have for defining, what you want to do. Let's say you want to do, instance provisioning and then getting it ready, installation, deployment, rollback, and you can have various kinds of override JSONs. Like you can override, let's say you have a sidekick running, and then you have a relational database server, you have a load balancer. So it really is, it just really works well on OpsWorks, especially Ruby on Rails. I have also used time-based instances, and also used scaled up based on CPU. I have also done so there were load-based instances as well as full-time instances. So we used to scale instances based on the time of the day. We know that okay, traffic is going to come to the API at this time, so we used to add those to the boxes. So it gives you that timetable, right, where you can add boxes and then it starts those instances.
Okay, so you mentioned Ruby, so you did not use AWS Ruby SDKs?
No. We were using like this was a Ruby on Rails application. We didn't use the Ruby SDK. We primarily used it only from the infra perspective. The application was written in the Ruby on Rails, basically Ruby 4.
Okay. So other question, can you explain to me how you, first you say you started with EC2, migration of your databases, right? Can you explain how you migrate your databases from EC2 to RDS?
Yeah. So basically, So migrating a EC2 based database to, I would say, the RDS is not a big challenge. You have to create the exact same capacity on RDS. You have to define the DB parameter group and the security groups, and then you have to take a dump of the Postgres database using the pg dump command. And once you have done that, the next thing you do is you connect to the remote SQL server, which is in this case the Postgres server running on the relational database service RDS on AWS. And this would kind of give me, you can use the psql command line using the root username and password, connect to the RDS, and then import it. There is a psql command, and then lower than, less than sign, which you can use to import the database into the RDS, and then maybe you can do some testing, check whether the schema is created properly, and those kinds of things.
Okay. Wait, I understand that. But let's say you're talking, say you have like a 100 gig database.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you do it if you have like 2 terabyte database, 2 terabyte size?
Oh, okay. So this is, yeah. So this, you're saying you have an existing 2 terabyte database on EC2 and you want to move it to RDS, right?
So you're moving from local to RDS. So you're moving from local to EC2.
Oh, local to EC2.
Right?
Okay, right. I got your point. So in that scenario, what we are going to do is, yeah. So in this kind of scenario, what we will do is we will start by splitting that SQL file into multiple smaller files. Now you would see that you can use the Linux split command for this kind of a stuff. So the split command works in a way wherein you can divide the 2 terabyte file into smaller 100 GB files, 20 smaller 100 GB files, which let you easily copy using SCP or rsync to the AWS server. Now, once you are on the AWS server, what you can do is you can join them back using the same command, and you get the big file, and then from the cloud to the same region RDS would not be a problem. But yeah, either you have to use direct connect if you want to directly copy the 2 TB. But again, that's not recommended. It's definitely recommended to break it into 250 GB chunks. I think that will be what I would typically have done. But if not that, then I think, I would typically divide it, join it on the cloud, and then finally, try to import it into the RDS.
So how do you import it into RDS? I understand when you talked about splitting into chunks. Importing into RDS is fine. I'm talking about like database. So I'm telling you, how will you do it using replication from EC to RDS?
Oh, okay. So basically, you can replicate a Postgres database.
My question to you: can you replicate from EC2 to RDS? Yes or no?
No, because RDS will not let you change the settings. So you can't replicate from EC2 to RDS. That's what I remember.
That is wrong. You can replicate from EC2 to RDS.
Okay.
You migrate from EC2 to RDS. And
Okay.
Okay? So when we're talking about large databases, you can use split, and then talking about you can use dump for large databases. You can use my dumper, which might take you probably a few hours, and then you can use my loader to actually import all those things. But when you're talking about dump, you're right when you're talking about dump and then explaining it, because you're talking about databases of minimal sizes.
Right.
So my question to you is, I'm talking about terabytes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, in the big
So
sizes.
I understand what you're saying. What you're saying is right. It is good, but on a higher level, you won't go that way.
Okay.
So you go under replication. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
So in that way, when you start replication, then easily it migrates to that. And then you can then control it on your
Right. Correct.
That give you guys a better idea of some of the stuff that's going to be needed to be done to migrate from on-prem to EC2? Gives us some understanding, gives us a little bit of comfort, and because Pradeep's been through this before, he's got an idea of how to do this.
Sure,
Yeah.
Did you maintain any, I guess, on-site servers? Were you responsible for anything on-site, not on AWS? They standalone or had any kind of virtualization just outside of the cloud?
Yeah, so basically I have maintained in ZocDoc, they had a database server wherein they were using it locally for doing some testing. So I've maintained that, installed it on Ubuntu 16, set up the daily backups because that was some data set which they had generated for some testing. It had some financial data as well as some some doctor data, so like the list of doctors and their contact numbers. So that was also there. And yeah, I mean, I've done some provisioning of the local DB and then giving access, creating the access control lists, and giving read-write access to certain tables to certain people, and finally trying to take a daily backup, make sure it's allowed from the Wi-Fi, because they used to use it only from the office just to do some testing, because it was kind of a backup plus another test DB was there on the same machine. So yeah, I mean, I've worked on that.
I know you mentioned Nagios, and you have it on the list of monitoring tools.
Yeah, so I have used
Nagios.
So I've used Nagios for infrastructure detailed monitoring. So I've used it for doing monitoring of CPU, memory, RAM, in deep OS level metrics, and apart from that, checking the replication lag, checking the zombie processes, checking the network in, network out, and alerting based on that using PagerDuty as well as SES. So we had created a custom command which would call the Twilio API and the PagerDuty API. That was one. And yeah, I mean, that was how we used it actually.
Did you use it for monitoring, what would it say, on-site or
on-site what?
Outside the cloud, or did you also use it to monitor AWS stuff?
So primarily used it to monitor the AWS stuff on the Amazon because we didn't have a static IP and we didn't want it to be monitored from the cloud, the database we had at ZocDoc. So primarily on the AWS instances only I have monitored stuff using it.
And I suppose that's where the Splunk and Elk Stack, everything was, those were in AWS, I assume?
Yeah, Splunk, Elk, all of them I've used on the AWS only, not on-premise, but I don't think there's going to be a big difference between on-premise Splunk and the cloud Splunk. I think there might be some changes in the machine sizes, but rest is all same.
Yeah, I agree. What about Grafana? Do you have any experience with Grafana?
No, not really. I have not used it a lot.
What about any kind of, I know there's different tools, especially when you're talking about AWS. Configuration-wise, for our on-site stuff, we're using Spacewalk currently. I don't know if you've had any experience with that, or if you.
Yeah, I heard about it. It's for the one which is for Windows machines, right? Spacewalk or Linux?
It's correct. It's for Linux. It's for configuration management, software management. It's at least currently right now, where it's becoming kind of our primary tool for monitoring that on our Linux host. I know there's other tools to do the equivalent. Some may say better, but I just didn't know if you have any experience with that or have even heard of it before.
Yes, I've heard about spacewalk.
It
I've
sounds
heard
like
about spacewalk. I've read.
you at least heard of it.
I've heard about it.
I don't think we've talked about this yet, but I see it on your list. Or maybe I missed it. MongoDB? Do you have some experience with Mongo?
Yes, I've used Mongo on premise, and I've used it for creating various kinds of Mongo collections, integrating it with the application. Also used it in one of the applications which was storing data in various Mongo collections. I created admin users and dev users, and then yeah, I've done that. I've installed MongoDB from scratch, set up a cluster, and I would say also used it for doing various kinds of storing data in the collections. Yeah.
Any experience with replica sets, or are they standalone Mongo instances?
Yeah. So basically, I've got experience in using. No, it was like a standalone, a very big instance which we were using. Yeah.
What's the size team you're used to working with, Pradeep?
I would say 4 to 6 is what I would say.
How many of the projects that you kind of described to us from your experience have you been the lead on? Are you just a contributor? Are you a lead? Or what's the role in those?
I would say I'm just intern here at ZocDoc. I am not a lead, but given the fact that in a couple of years maybe I can, yeah.
But have you been in charge of any part of the project, or just because of your intern status, you're more just like a participant in the project?
I'm an intern. I'm not in charge, but internally I look after the Jenkins CI/CD pipelines and try to fix those on a daily basis, and try to make sure that everything is working fine.
Yeah. I see that you have quite a good experience with AWS.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you want to give users access, privileges, and then you want to actually exclude some users from AWS access.
Mm-hmm.
What would be your first port of call?
So I think what I would do is I will take the AWS IAM rules and create a custom policy which allows only specific resources like.
That is you've answered my question.
Good job, Pradeep. You answered the question. Very correct here. So, Pradeep, you've got a great set of application and infrastructure skill set listed. What is your experience just from a networking standpoint, or just from understanding? If you're working, I guess you're working on premise at ZocDoc. Do you have any involvement with any of the connectivity that gives everybody access out, or understanding any of the parameters around controlling access, either via firewall, switch, or how those are configured? Have you had to touch that at all?
Yeah. So I have experience in MikroTik router. I have configured that. So we have that one in our office. And I have configured a load balanced, we have 2 fiber optic cables, so we load balance them in real time. And I also have got some experience in configuring switches like Cisco ACE, static routes, but primarily it's MikroTik. And on the cloud, it is the network ACLs and the security groups and the route tables and NAT gateways is what I've configured. Yeah, so I mean, I've used that for doing static routes, and then we had the database on premise, so I did some kind of firewall rules enabling on the database on the on premise.
And because I assume that the data for ZocDoc is pretty important. how do you protect the data from a standpoint if there's ever a need to recover any lost data? How do you guys manage that?
Yeah, so for that we have like daily backups across various. So we will do backups of various kinds of instances. So we will be having another region where we will take the backup and then put it there on that region. Then apart from that, there is so we take a daily dump of the main backup and put it across the other region, I would say. That's how we protect it.
That's in AWS?
Yes, on AWS, but on a different region.
Right. Right, and I think when we talked, you said that you are not currently doing any kind of live replication between regions or true HA between regions. It's just a dump and have it ready to go.
It's just a dump. We just have it dump, just in case something fails. There's no region across region replication.
So like a cold standby?
Yeah, like a cold dump just to make sure we don't, cold standby.
Okay. Where do you store your dump?
It's on an EC2 instance basically. We keep it there.
Where do you store it? The storage from that's what I'm asking.
So on the EC2 instance, so we copy it, we do a rsync, and it's a volume on the EBS. Yeah.
Store it on EBS volume. You didn't choose either S3 or you want to put it in Glacier?
So one of the reasons we have not chosen S3 is because. So one of the reasons why we have not.
You put it in. You put it in S3 bucket or where?
So we found that the S3 bucket was somewhat slower. That is the reason we didn't put it on S3. So uploads to EBS volumes or transfers to EBS volumes were faster. That's the reason, we didn't do that to S3. But that was also one of the options we considered. But yeah, right now we just have, we have it on the EBS volume.
So how much does it cost you guys to store it on the EBS volume? Why do you use it?
So the reason I said is speed, one thing. The other thing is, let's say tomorrow we want to provision a speed. So it is speed of, transfer. It is faster to transfer to a EBS volume rather than to a S3 bucket.
So apart from speed, why do you use EBS volume?
So apart from speed, I would say that we are using it for various kinds of, speed is one thing. Then let's say tomorrow we want to really provision a database and it's a real disaster. I would say that, in that case also we would typically go with instance because we can quickly transfer the SQL dump from the machine to another machine, which can be the next machine for that region, for the database.
Yeah, I agree. What I want to hear from you is the cost, because S3 is expensive. On EBS, it's cheap.
It was not my decision, to be honest, because, but yeah, that was the decision taken by one of the leads here, and I just wrote the script for that.
I'm just telling you from experience.
So on the EBS, where you're copying, are you copying it cross region, or are you relying on some sort of replication, so writing to like an EBS volume in your region and then relying on AWS backend replication to replicate that EBS volume to a different region?
No. So we are just doing a copy across the region. I know that's expensive, very expensive, but as of now, this is what it is. So we are not doing it on a daily basis. We are doing like a differential. So there's the rsync which is happening. I think that takes a differential dump. It doesn't take a full dump, but yeah, that's what is currently the backup strategy.
Another question. Let's say I made a wrong judgment. I created an EC2 instances, and I probably transferred my backup into it, my compressed backup. And then when I now compress it, then I go to like probably 50 gigs. But on creating my EC2 instances, I was anticipating about 15 gigs. So what will I do to actually accommodate the 50 gig backup that I want to restore?
You can increase the size of the volume actually. So what you can do is you can take a snapshot of the volume, and once that is done, you can create a new volume and put it on the. So the new volume can be created and then attached to the existing. What I can say, yeah. So the new volume should be the larger volume,
Is the
and then
attachment that I want? Yeah, is the attachment, the process of the attachment that I wanted to explain. And then I have my SQL running on it. So I wanted to explain that process of attachment. So will you shut off my SQL or not?
no. So what I will do in this case is I will create another MySQL slave, and I mean I'll take the dump and I will create a replica MySQL using this dump, and then I will make it the slave of this machine. Okay, and that means it will real time be a replication. Once the replication has started and both are in sync, I will do a what I can say a switch of the application to the slave, so that the slave is now the master, and the master I will eventually shut down. So that is my strategy going to be here, if it's going to be something which I can't switch off.
Let's say we don't have a lottery of a slave. We just have a single instance, and then we want to increase.
We can use LVM. So I think LVM.
So
do you have LVM?
So
do you have LVM for this? Like I mean, the logical volume manager.
Yes, you're going to use your EBS volume. You first shut your MySQL down, and then you go through the process of increasing the volume. You create a new mount for it, and then you now attach it to the whole one.
I think for this kind of scenario, I think you can add a new volume and change the location of the data, but I'm not sure. I mean, there are various approaches, but for
yeah. So you can change the location of the data. You can change the location of the data of where you want the data installed, but you have to shut it down first.
Right.
You can't have it running.
You're right. So I think I'm not sure, but there should be okay. You can't switch it off for even like a 1 second.
You can't switch it off. Turn it off.
No, actually, I mean,
keep it running. Come on, 100% uptime.
Okay. I mean,
So
I'm not.
You know what? Keep it 100% up. To keep it 100% uptime. The very first thing you were describing was right. But I want to throw you off. That is, you create a slave of what you're trying to do. You increase that volume then to accommodate that.
Okay.
What experience do you have with handling security patches? On AWS, there's probably not a whole lot in the way of security patching that has to be done, obviously not kernel or anything. But just in general, what have you had to do previously for maintaining security compliance? We're very heavy on security here. I don't think that quite justifies it. We are like more than heavy on security here.
More bound.
So yeah, I mean, in security, I would say that I would go with the Linux patching. That is one thing, and apart from that, I would also go ahead with doing the various kinds of playbooks for that. So you can use playbooks for doing the patching of the machines. You can also utilize these. There is you can have various kinds of penetration testing tools for telling you what is wrong with what. What kind of software. So it scans your instances. You can have audits of the software. let's say you want to do you want to check whether your software is actually compliant and you have the latest versions, you can use OSEC and OpenVAS.
Is this stuff you've had to do, or is this just theoretical things you would do?
I have done patching, Ansible related Linux patching and Windows patching, but I have not done the security penetration testing, I would say.
Have you been through an audit before? I mean, I don't know if the ZocDoc has any, just by the nature of having doc in its title, if it has any HIPAA requirements. Have you had to respond to any audit items from a QSA looking for showing where there's vulnerabilities or something missing in your environment from a security standpoint?
I have used Ansible to pull out various kinds of metrics from the existing infrastructure to give it to the team for audit. I have not done it from like myself, but I just use Ansible to pull out the various kinds of what I can say audit. So I've used Excel sheets for this, and I've kind of pulled it out and handed it over to a different member of the team for the auditing purposes.
Okay, that's good.
We're coming up at the end of the hour, so respect Pradeep's time. Do you have questions you want to ask us?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm as of now good, and I don't have any questions. I'm pretty good, and I'm excited about whatever I have heard. So yeah, I'm good from my side.
If you want to ask Jacob some technical questions, I'm sure he'd like to, he'd be happy to answer any.
Yeah, so what is the are you into containers also? Like, I mean, are you going to deploy any container in the next 6 months?
It depends on who you ask.
I think that's why we're hiring for the position, Pradeep.
Okay. Okay.
To help us facilitate that, because it will be a requirement in some form or fashion in our infrastructure going forward.
Okay.
So that's what we're looking for.
All right. All right. Okay. Sounds great.
Well,
I think I'm good.
You don't have any other questions or anything. Did anybody else have any last minute? Jeff, Justin, Jacob, good. Jingleheimer Schmidt. Right. Okay. Well, great. Jeff, anything for you?
Nothing for me.
All right. Well, Pradeep, thank you very much for your time today. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Nice to meet you.
And we will talk amongst ourselves and discuss the interview, and we'll get back with the recruiter who will reach out to you and let you know what the next steps are.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah. Thanks a lot. It was amazing. Nice speaking to you.
All right. Have a good afternoon, Pradeep.
Yeah. Same to you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.